This is Bill Gross with my partner, colleague.
Patricia Castillo with the Nate Butcher Group here at eXp Realty.
And I am here in Dallas, Texas in a hotel room. But it looks like I have a weird background. That's the windows closed. And I'm in a room, beautiful resort in Dallas with the eXp Build Conference. Amazing insights, production, amazing to be around people who do so much business. But, you know, at the end of the day, with all the changes in the marketplace, all the top producers in the world are saying the exact same thing, which is we've got to make sure we double up on our fundamentals, that we work hard and make sure that we put a good effort in daily when we're working, and that we are listening, finding out what our customers need, and then working hard to deliver to those customers. So Patricia, how about the real estate market today, huh?
Yep, it's going great, Bill. You know, you and I are on a deal together, and that one should be moving forward to closing. So I'm excited about that. And, you know, I have offers coming in on another listing I have. It seems like the market is starting to settle and somewhat normalize. And so buyers are definitely coming out of the woodworks. Our open houses have been extremely busy. We've been getting, you know, multiple offers now. And so it's definitely picking back up.
It is amazing the activity going on in the marketplace, in that, you know, I had a couple listings that fell out of escrow and got resold. And not yours, but the other two I have both had that happen. And buyers still calling me this day. The ones who are in escrow, my buyer's interested, like they regretted the buyer jumped out. I think the panic in June was that not that rates went from 2.75 to slightly above 6, let's say now in the high 5s. It's not so much they went up that much. It's that in June, it looked like they may go up forever, right?
Right.
We heard people talk about maybe rates will go to 10%, 12%, 15%. I started in the business when rates were at 12%. And so I think it could happen and things could change. But as of today, it doesn't look like rates are going to go to 12% in the near future, right? And so people looking to buy a house, number one. Number two, people still getting paid. And I know from family and friends that some people are getting laid off, others are getting raises because some business is doing well, some are doing poorly. If you're with one's doing well, you can buy a house. And the thing I always tell people every year is we only have to sell 5 million houses as a country. We have over 350 million people, or 4 million people. We have, you know, probably 80 to 100 million households, and 5 are going to buy a house every year. That's all we need. We don't need 10. We don't need 8. We need 5. So there seems to be a healthy market for those of us who are putting time and effort in. So tell me about your open houses. I know you had one last weekend. What's the attendance like? Compare it to, say, last year and compare it, say, to June. What's the attendance been like?
Well, I would say the attendance is less than it was last year and the year before that, because open houses were being flooded, especially because of the pandemic. There were certain requirements in place. You couldn't have an open house. You had to have people line up outside, make an appointment. So the structure was different for open houses. But generally speaking, we're still having at least 20 people come by on a given day for an open house. And that may be in a 2-hour time frame or a 3-hour time frame. And you know, we're seeing a lot of activity, a lot of interest, and it's, you know, people are now not so much looking at the rates, just what they can afford. They can afford the payment. They're coming off the sidelines and they're looking at properties because the fact is that people need a place to live and they need to buy a property. And as the rents continue to increase, which we're going to keep seeing that, I've talked to several people that have been renting and they've received rent increases, and they're not in rent control, so they're pretty substantial.
Right.
So it's really incentivizing them now to forget about the rates and focus on what you can afford, where you want to live, and see what falls in that parameter for you. Because at the end of the day, you need some place to live, and that may be coexisting, you know, cohabitating with maybe another family member, a friend, but as long as you can make it happen and work with a, you know, strong, knowledgeable real estate agent that can also negotiate on your behalf, possibly look at the properties that have had, you know, some slight price reductions. there may be an opportunity there to maybe come in a little bit lower or get concessions for closing costs. So it's definitely a good time to look at your situation and what you can afford.
Yeah, and I think that okay, so Shanae Davis, do we know Shanae Davis?
Yes. Oh, well, Bill, I know you. I
think
normally
he's
don't
been
get
on
on
the
this
call
line.
before.
Oh, hey Shanae, how you doing? That's right, I recognize your voice.
Yeah.
Welcome. We have to be careful. For some reason, this call has attracted more Zoom bombers than any others. So I think it's a time of day. I think some of the kids are off from school and they're playing on the computer. So, Shanae, nice to hear from you. Thank you for jumping in the call. Didn't mean to meet you there. And you're welcome to jump anytime you want.
Okay, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and Angela Williams, thank you for joining our call today.
Yeah, feel free. If you have any questions, feel free, or comments, feel free to jump in and join the conversation. One of the things that is you mentioned the rents going up, and I see that too, particularly non-rent control, which in LA means typically houses aren't under rent control. Duplexes are typically not going to be under rent control, but depending on the situation, and of course, certain housing stock by their age is not going to be, but where they're getting those increases, where they go the market rents. Literally, the conversation one of my agents had with me this week was he had signed a lease for a client, well-to-do client in entertainment, a year ago, and they paid a lease for a house in the Valley. I want to say it was like $6,000 a month or something. And first year is up. It's a house, so it's not under rent stabilization in the city of Los Angeles.
Right.
And the owner, there are still some limits in the county and the state. I think they're allowed to go up 10%. And there's some rules and regulations and all that, but they got the 10%. The landlord sent out a raise of over 10%. And the realtor kind of gave them the customer some information, and they were able to lower the payment down to 10% increase. So they're paying $6,600 a month. And of course, he offered them, well, here's what this house would be if you bought it at the market price. Here's what the payment would look like with this down payment and such. I think it's important to have those conversations with people to understand that you can pay money and rent, or you might pay more, but of the more, some is your principal. Of the more, some you'll get back in your taxes, and then over time, theoretically, it goes up in value, and you're going to keep all those profits. And so that's the discussions we have with people who are looking to lease, to say nothing wrong with leasing, but let's just look at the numbers and make sure you're making the right choice.
Mm-hmm. Right, because in the future, you have to anticipate those rent increases coming into play. Exactly. And so maybe it might make sense for you this year, but it may not make sense for you 2 to 3 years down the line to keep paying the increase over time in the rents. Exactly.
Shanae, I see your hand up. You want to add to that, or do you have a question?
Yeah, so I have a question. So I recently, I ran into a realtor, and they were like giving me some, I was interested in purchasing a unit. And so I just wanted to know if you guys can touch on that a little bit more, so I know that what I'm getting into. I know that the realtor told me that I would possibly have to stay in the unit, which I didn't want to do, but he said that the percentage would be a little less because of the first year if I stayed in a duplex unit. And so, but I don't really want to do that. So is there a way that I can get around that, or?
So you're looking to buy a property strictly as a rental, not to live in it?
Correct.
What were you looking to buy?
Nothing too large. Probably like nothing over. I live in the Antelope Valley area, so the duplexes that he sent me were anywhere from like 400,000. They're not that. The expense of them are not that expensive, but he sent me some that were like 4-unit properties, 5-unit properties, like that.
So I would say to you that 2 to 4 units are kind of in the same category. 5 units and up are a whole different category. So we would call a 2 to 4 unit would be a small income residential property. 5 units and up would be a multifamily, and the lenders are different and the rules are totally different. Okay, for beginner. So normally on 5 and up, it doesn't matter if you live there or not. In fact, typically 5 and up, you don't live there. It's very rare that an owner will buy a multifamily and live in one. Usually they're managed, they have a manager on site. So I guess as you're looking at 2 or 3 or 4 unit properties most commonly, correct?
Right. Yeah. They were like 3 or 4 units.
Okay. And so when you run the numbers, if you rented all 4 out with the down payment you're talking about, will the income cover the entire cost of the property, which would be the mortgage costs, taxes, insurance, anticipated expenses? Did you work out those numbers? Have you gotten that kind of detail yet?
No, because I know that because I needed more information about it. I know he told me that each unit was going for about 1,500 in the area.
So what I find is real estate agents who really shouldn't be selling these properties. Let me back up. An agent who's presenting your property as an investment should give you 2 numbers with the detail. 1, what's going to cost you to get the property, down payment, closing costs. And 2, what you get out of the property, which is your net cash flow, right? And that's going to be the rents, the actual rents, minus the actual costs, and the net is to you, is your cash flow. So you might put down 50,000, 100,000, 5,000, and you're going to get back, and he'll give you those details, and you get back $100 a month, $1,000 a month, 10,000 a month, but there should be some detail with that. And so you should get that detail to consider the property, because the whole deal with investment property, yes, location is really important and the area is important, but at the end of the day, if it doesn't cash flow, you're not going to buy it, are you?
Yeah, if it's not cash flow, yeah, no, there's no reason for me to try to purchase it then.
Yeah,
You get a lower rate if you live in one of the units. The problem is you get a lower rate, but you probably will have to you're going to think you put down a lower down payment, but it won't cash flow that. My experience is you'll probably need to put down 25 or 30% down payment to borrow the rest from a bank for it to cash flow. And so typically the difference in rate for non-owner occupied rate, because you want to rent out all the units to get all the income for cash flow. If you're living in a unit, you're not paying yourself rent, it's not going to cash flow. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now, if you were to live there and that property instead of cash flow costs you $1,000 a month, but you would normally pay $2,000 for that kind of rent, well, then that's a good deal. And you might go for that. But typically when you buy units, you're not going to get cash flow unless you rent them all out.
Okay.
Well, it sounds to me, Shani, that you're not getting a detailed breakdown. When somebody presents the property, unless you're an experienced investor that has all those numbers already on your own and you have your own calculator, they should present you the numbers and say, here's the rent for unit A, B, C, D, if there's 4 units. Here's the vacancy factor, because we normally expect people turn over, don't pay rent, about 5% vacancy factor. And then here's what the taxes will be when you buy it. Here's what the insurance will be when you buy it. Here's the maintenance cost. Here's the property management cost. And net, here's what you'll get out of it. And that should be a number. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Okay. So it should come with a whole breakdown to see if it's even worth my time.
Yes.
Got you. Okay.
So sometimes realtors find a deal that looks good, but when you break it out in numbers, it isn't a good investment. And so generally, I find there are a lot of real estate agents who like to sell properties. They're not experienced at multifamily properties, so they kind of skip those steps. Now, if the property is vacant, you might like that. You might say, well, it's great, it's vacant. I'll put my own renters in at market price. Then you don't have to give you all those numbers. But if they're presenting you a property with the idea that you're going to get cash flow, they need to give you the actual numbers. And when the property is listed, normally a listing agent will provide those numbers, or they'll be available.
Okay. So I have to just do some more research. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would say, look for a research investment club, a real estate investment club, or real estate investor meetup where they talk about how to work a calculator. And I have one on my YouTube channel. I interviewed a lender from a bank, Probate bank, and she walked through how to calculate all the expenses when you buy a rental property. Okay.
Oh, do you have somebody, or?
I have a lender I work with the Probate bank. Yeah, I do.
Okay. Okay, but I'm saying, do you have a group though that meets like this one? Because I know you're in like several different ones.
Another few. You live in Antelope Valley?
Yes.
I would say on the second Thursday of the month in Culver City is the LA Real Estate Investors group that I go to. That's a live event. There's about 250 people there. There's a speaker who's going to talk about multifamily investments there. She's great. I set up an interview for her. I'm going to do that next week, and I'll put that on my YouTube channel. There's also other coaches and trainers and investment companies. You might find a lot of people there. I like it because in one fell swoop, you'll meet a lot of people.
Okay, so okay, so I know you guys did an event one time, and I think like I had I don't know, remember, but I wanted to go out, but I just missed it. Okay, so is that, you said that's coming up this week?
No, it's the second Thursday of the month.
Okay.
It is the 8th. Go to LAREIC.com. LA, Los Angeles, REIC investmentclub.com. LAREIC.com.
IC.com. Okay.
And if you come, you better come up and say hi, okay?
Mhm.
Oh yeah, always.
Great.
Yes, definitely, I will.
Okay.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Patricia, you want to add anything about the units?
Yeah, Shanae, I was just gonna add that, Bill gave you a pretty good rundown on what to look for and what the realtor should be providing to you. But something you can look at as well is the current rent that the tenants are paying and what the pro forma rent could be. So the pro forma would be the market value. So what you could potentially raise the rents to. Like, for example, I helped a friend of mine sell their building. It was in rent control, so it wasn't cash flowing very well, but they also the owner was really good friends with the tenants, so they hardly ever raised the rents, which was not a good thing because it's a business that you're running, right? It's supposed to be cash flowing. So when you're looking at the rents and they're not being increased accordingly, it basically affects the price and the value, because an investor is going to want to purchase a property where there's that opportunity for it to cash flow if it's not already cash flowing. So you want to look at the rents that are currently being collected, currently being paid, and what the market rent could be. That would be your pro forma rent.
Okay, and then I wanted to ask you really quick too, if you can answer this. I know you said you touched on controlled rent, and I'm still learning, right, about this. So would the control rent be because that is what is being rented from the property owners, or where would that come from?
The city.
Rent control.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like the city that rents the building, right? It would already come attached.
We have 3 levels of rent control in California. We have state rules, you have LA County rules, and they have local city rules. And so part of the process is normally when the property is listed, the listing agent will put in there if it's under rent control or not. And then if not, you can do your research and find out. Let's say Los Angeles is amongst the strictest in the country, as is Santa Monica. Is Palmdale and Lancaster, are they cities or are they areas of LA? Do you know?
Palmdale and Lancaster they're part of LA. Well,
It's LA
Roseman is
County.
Kern County.
LA
Yeah,
County?
so the cutoff is Palmdale.
Okay. Are they separate cities though, or are they part of LA County unincorporated?
No, they're part of LA County.
Okay. So again, there's different rules and different levels, but and each property is going to be different based on the age. Newer properties are not subjected to LA City rent control, for example. So I would say get a particular property and research it, and you have to learn the rules. An agent in that area, if you're working with one, should know the rules in your city. Like I know the LA rules pretty well. I wouldn't sell property in Lancaster, Palmdale because I don't know the rules out there for investors.
Oh, okay.
If you're a sophisticated investor and you know those rules, I can help you get the property. But I would say you need to find an agent who knows who's sold properties there, and I think ideally who invests property. If you're gonna have a real estate agent sell you to buy units in the Antelope Valley, I would think they would also own properties that they know it from personal experience, not just from aspiration.
Yes. Okay.
I could give
That
you a
makes sense.
recommendation, Shanae, after the call.
Yeah,
Right.
Okay.
there's people in that area that not only would like to sell you, we all would like to say, Shane, you seem like a nice lady, and we all would do business, but you need to find somebody, if you're newer to this, you need to find somebody who has a track record of success in that area.
Right.
Yes, that's definitely what I need. Yeah, thank you.
Have each other's contact info?
I'm gonna put my phone number in the chat, Shanae. So you can give me a call afterward, and I have an excellent contact for you that's reputable in that area.
Oh, great.
Mhm.
I'm writing it down now. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm gonna text you.
And unlike Bill, I answer my phone all the time.
Well, Bill, you have to, what I do when I really need to talk to Bill is I go on his website and I
Right.
book myself some time. I
Yes,
just a little 15-minute slot.
right. I do the same thing.
No, you call me or text
I
me.
do.
Hey,
I
hold
do.
it. You text me. Hold on. I'm gonna throw a penalty flag. You text me. Okay, I'm gonna be real here. You texted me at what time for that code?
It was probably after hours, I would
And
say.
how quick did you get back? How quick did I respond to you?
Yeah, you did. So I should say I used to use the link for the calendar. Now I just call. I've gotten
No.
spoiled. I've gotten spoiled over our relationship.
Well, look, I work, a full business, and if I come on this call, I'm not taking phone calls from other people. So that's kind of how things work. In fact, I forgot to do not disturb on. That's disturbing. I forgot to do that. But what I say is, you're certainly able to reach out to me anytime you want to. Call me, text me, email me if I can help you guys anytime. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Shanae, and hope you guys will connect up and be able to work together. Any other questions? Angela, any questions from you? No? We'll just say hi and joining in. Okay, I think that's gonna be a wrap for us. Unless any last words here, Patricia?
I don't see anything in the live stream on Facebook, so I don't know if you've checked the other platforms.
I did.
Okay. I just wanted to say, as we mentioned earlier on the call, the real estate market is definitely kicking up. If you have any questions or you're just concerned about certain things that you might be thinking about, definitely give us a call and we'll help you think through it and see what the best plan is for you. Maybe whether you're thinking of selling or buying. I think it's always best to think the process through with a professional, put your heads together and come up with a plan. So I can be reached at 323-365-9909.
Okay, and Pat, I'm gonna text you, but I went in my texts and it seems like we've already had a prior conversation. So about wholesaling, because I'm originally a wholesaler.
Got it. I do remember.
Yeah. So I'm gonna retext you so you remember who I am. But we've talked before. We just didn't remember.
Okay. And I'll give you the recommendation for Antelope Valley.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Angela says no questions and internet is not great.
Yeah, and it's a challenge for me today because I'm in a hotel. So we're gonna wrap it up here today. Patricia gave her phone number. I'm Bill Gross, the LAProbate expert. This is our home buying seminar. We do it every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Pacific. We're doing it tonight, 7 o'clock in Dallas, Texas time, 8 o'clock Eastern time. We also live stream to Facebook and YouTube. Reach out if we can help you in any way. Buy your first house or trade up to a new home or investment home. And as always, make it your best week ever. Thanks so much, everybody.